Welcome to Fathers Unfiltered. This is the podcast that allows separated fathers to tell their story. So we've got today's guest. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us what you do for a living, your job, how many kids you got and what their ages are?
So I'm a bit like yourself. I'm an engineer, metal fabricator to be exact. I've got two daughters from my recent marriage, and I've a son from a previous relationship. My daughters I share care of my daughters, and I'll be 4 and 2 soon.
Okay. How long have you been separated from your ex?
It's coming up to 14 months now.
Okay, so a lot of the hostility sort of died down a little bit?
No, it's still
You're getting through it?
there's still stuff that happens, like, and you think, oh, here we go again. But then, like today, she sent me a message of a picture of my youngest daughter who's decided she's going to potty train herself, and it's like, she's like, look at this, she's on the potty, she's doing this. I'm like, how am I supposed to? It's hot and cold. It's probably the best description.
I understand that feeling and I get it. I'm currently in a period of silence. We've had a fallout, but when you're in that nice period, it is nice to get those interactions regularly, although it is confusing.
Yeah.
So you've been separated around
14 months.
14 months. How long were you together?
We were together for 12 years.
Okay.
Just shy of 12 years, about 11 and a half it would have been, or something like that. Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about it, how much of your life that is.
That's a third of my life.
It's virtually the same for me. It's when you put it in that, it's like, this person, I knew him for such a long time.
I was with that person longer than nearly as long as I was anything else. It's like, just doesn't. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is incredible that you can spend that much time and then with a flick of a switch, they almost vanish, or they're not that person.
Don't recognise her. Yeah. Like, literally, the moment I called quits on it, it was like a light switch. And I even said to her, I was like, I don't recognise who you are. I was like, who is this person in front of me? Because the person that I know wouldn't do this, or I'd like to think wouldn't do this. Obviously I was wrong.
It is strange when you go through that. It's as if they're just a different person.
You start questioning yourself, though. You're like, was I this? Was I that? Did I not see this? Was the signs? Was the and that just takes you down a rabbit hole.
It does. So let's take it back to, I guess, a happier place when you met or first met. Can you remember it?
Oh, God, yeah, easily.
How was that?
I'm going to say we met in a hospital.
Okay.
That's probably the what's the name, the more...
Oh, I think I remember you told me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we met, and at the time I didn't know that she. Like I said to you, I've got ADHD, so like sometimes my awareness of things that's going on around me, I'm completely oblivious to. Like, sort of social interaction. Sometimes I'm just there going la di da di da, la di da, and someone else, like my mate, would be like, "She likes you." I'm like, really? And I'm just completely unaware to it. So we start talking about similar interests, as you do, and we got chatting. But I think, did we change numbers first? There's a few things that happened at the beginning that were like I bumped into her in Manchester, in the middle of Manchester.
After you've already met?
We just met, yeah. We've met at what time, and she gets out of a taxi, like, next to me. And I'm like, and she's like, oh, Harris. I'm like, And it was like, it just didn't make sense that you could bump into someone like that in a major city. And we started talking, and then I lost my best mate. He overdosed, and yeah, that wasn't a good time. And I just shut down for months. Moved back home to be with family because I wasn't dealing with things very well. And she kept on, and she kept on, and she kept on, and she kept on, and she kept on.
Just trying to make contact with you.
Yeah, just keeping going. And I'm like, look, I can't, I'm not ready for this. I can't do this. Plus she was married.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you're married? No. I'm leaving him. We're in separate beds. This, blah, 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 blah. He's this, he's a narcissist, he's controlling, he's all these things, which she's now gone on to say about me. And I was like, look, I'm not going to be the one to come inside a marriage like that. Don't believe in it. That's not cool. Just leave me alone, sort of thing. And she kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And when I say, like I said, no, like 3 times, like proper just leave me alone over a course of about 18 months, 12 months, about 12 months. And it just got to the point where I was just like, you know what, fuck it.
You say this is quite a unique start to a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I was in a better place, I would have been like, leave me alone. The next time you contact me, I'll be ringing the police.
Really?
I think that's what I would have done. Now, that's what I would have done. But I was hurting. I was in a bad place. I was in a dark place. You know, I'd lost my best friend, being dragged through a coroner's inquest. It was, wasn't a fun time. And I think the attention helped.
I was going to say, did you like the attention that you was getting? Because guys don't generally get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I think it just helped take the edge off things, you know. And when someone's telling you, you're amazing, you're this, you're that, you, oh my God, you're that, oh, you know, all this love bombing. And I'll be honest, I'm not. I suppose everyone's a bit bullshit to a point, aren't they? You know, you're like, yeah, I'm good at my job, yeah, I'm this, you know, yeah, I'm a good looking lad, you know, but this was like next level, like I was a god in her eyes, I know, and even then I was like, I am not that good.
So she pursued you for a year.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
And I guess you were dealing with your own stuff and attempting to keep her at arm's length.
Yeah.
At what point was she still with her partner at the time?
Supposedly she'd, I think at that point she moved into her dad's, I think, when we sort of started dating.
Okay, so she may have been going through separation herself.
Yeah, she was. And then, I think when we started dating properly, she'd moved into her old man's. So yeah, she was out of the home that she had with her previous husband.
How was the start once you accepted the relationship?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah?
Oh, God, yeah. Mind-blowing sex, great adventures. It was fun. It was carefree. It was brilliant, you know. This is it when you've had a long relationship like that breaks down. You look back to those sort of formative years and you think, where did it all change? You know, like why? And I could probably put pins in certain points through the relationship that were clear indications of problems. But yeah, it was what a relationship should have been. It was fun. Like I say, we had loads of intimacy. We spoke several times a day. It was great. And again, it took away the pain of the other stuff that was going on. You know, kind of
It's a good distraction.
Yeah.
So, at what point, what was the next big event for you? Was it moving in? Did you have kids? Or
Yeah, moving in. So, I'd moved back home to my parents. She was still in Manchester, and we were looking for somewhere to live. But one of the big sort of points for me that is that I didn't want to be back within the ring road. I didn't want to be back within Manchester. I'd lived in Manchester for 7 years, in and around, and that's like the last straw that broke. It was when my best mate died, and I was just like, done with it. Had enough. Want to be somewhere else. Coming from a small town as well. Like, city's great when you're young, and I spent 8 years clubbing and DJing and going out partying before I met my ex, and I pretty much, it was a blur of 8 years, and I was like, do you know what? New point in my life. Want to move away from that. Want to concentrate on other things. So we moved to just sort of west of Manchester, and that was a big thing. I lived with a previous girlfriend before, but that only lasted like 3 years. So this was like the second girl I've ever lived with, but it was like the first time I'd ever lived with someone on my own, because my previous partner, when we moved in together, we had a housemate.
Okay.
Because it was in Manchester, and obviously Manchester's expensive.
It is.
So so it was a big thing to be moving in with just me and somebody else.
Was you apprehensive about moving in?
No, I was excited.
Okay.
It was new lease of life.
So everything felt right. There was no.
There was nothing to think otherwise. Like I said, the very early years, we had a great time. Don't get me wrong, we had arguments and what's saying, but I'm thinking back, it's like certainly the first sort of 3 or 4 years, I think we had a pretty good go of things. There's nothing that sticks in my mind that was like standout moments where it was bad. It was, for the most part, but like any couple, you have arguments, you have fallings out over sometimes the most insignificant thing.
Yes.
But you live with a partner, you know what it's like. It's like, why have you not put the toilet seat down? Whatever, and then it's World War IV. But yeah, it was exciting. It was a new start for both of us, because we moved into a new house in an area that neither of us had any connection to at all. We were just there, just us, just our own little island.
Did she have any previous kids?
No.
Okay.
No. So it was a big. It was
a good fresh start.
Yeah, it was a fresh start. Not like, when some people leave out, they stay in the same town or they move next to someone. We didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
So we just literally, we found someone that was within travelling distance of her work. I didn't even have a job. I'd left. I was leaving the job that I was in. Didn't have a job, and she was like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'll just get a job." Because of my trade, and I'm not big-headed, I'm good at what I do. I can walk into a job and then he'll go, "Oh, this one." I was like, just give me a set, just let me show you what I could do. And I go and spend half an hour somewhere, and they're like, "All right, yeah, do you want a job?" So I was like, "I'll get a job." I think I had a job in a week, 2 weeks, And I was never worried about that. But yeah, it was an adventure.
What was, once you'd finally moved in, what was the daily life like? How did, was it just fine? Did it work?
It seemed to, yeah, she was travelling to work. I was lucky enough, I only worked like a mile away, so we used to walk. Going to work, doing a thing. We were in a rented property, so we didn't really, do much to the house. But we started making a home, getting a little bits of knickknacks and furniture that you wanted, and making that work. And yeah, it was. It was, everything was good. There was nothing there was nothing that sort of stood out that there was any problems. I'd say it's just this sort of fairy tale,
Yeah.
sort of happiness.
Sounds good. So at what point did you end up having kids? How did that come into it?
That was much later on.
Okay.
That was much later on. I was 8 years into it. Really, really long. Yeah.
So I'm guessing the issues started
before then. Yeah. We got married. There was problems before we got married. There was things.
What was the first?
We did a lot in one go. You see, we got married, bought a house, and started a business literally within months of each other.
They're like the three hardest things that you can do more
Oh
stressful.
yeah. And we did it all within like 6 months. Like from planning, from me proposing to us getting married was like 8 months. We didn't want to say, but it wasn't. It was a good wedding. Don't go right. It was everyone's wedding, everyone's own wedding is fantastic, isn't it? And everyone says that, but we didn't just blow 20 grand on it. You know, I think we spent like 1,500 quid.
Okay,
and that was everything, like everything.
At what point did you propose? How long have you been together?
Oh God, we were together about 4. Yeah, it was about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. Yeah, and I think at that point, I never wanted to get married. I was always dead against it. But I knew that I wanted kids, and if I was going to have kids, then we should be married and we should have a home. I wanted to do it properly. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that my children had security around them. They had a home that was theirs, and that we had a family business that would provide for us all moving forwards. That was, to me, that was my visit, like sort of vision. So yeah, we just dove in and did it.
Okay. So you said about the 4-year mark is where you start getting issues, but that was about the time that you decided to get proposed.
Yeah, I think it was after that, really. I proposed, then we had, I think we had like a really busy 8 months before we had the wedding. Obviously, because she was doing this and she was doing, and I'm not sure about you, but as blokes, our involvement in weddings, so I think I said, turn around, I was like, just tell me where I've got to be, and leave my suit out, and I'll make sure I'm there. I helped with stuff, getting things and doing bits and running around for things. I did that.
I didn't do a great deal, I'll be honest.
I didn't do lots, but I did some. Where I know some people do nothing, but she certainly did the most of it. The big kind of pin was 3 days after we got married.
3 days?
3 days. We had 3 days of wedded bliss. And I'm talking that honeymoon, you wake up in the morning, you roll over, and you just, like, you can't believe that this woman has decided to be your wife, and she's the most beautiful thing in the world in your eyes, and she's an angel, and you can't, every time you touch, it gives you sparks. Every time she looks at you, you feel butterflies. We had 3 days of that. And her auntie had come over from Ireland for the wedding, couldn't make the wedding because she wasn't well. And yeah, 3 days later, she was dead. And that was like, that just wrote her off. She was like a mum to her, and it just destroyed her. Like, properly destroyed her. And, oh God, 18 months, at least 6, her head was in the ground. And it was a good 18 months before any sort of normality kind of seeping back in. And felt helpless. Because no matter what I wanted to do, no matter how I wanted to help, she rebuffed everything. The grief was more important to her. She didn't want the help. That was more important.
There is little that you can actually do, but other than being there.
Yeah, but that wasn't even wanted. There was literally, I was told to go away. Just leave her alone. And it was like, oh, okay. And yeah, we never, I don't think we actually had a kind of honeymoon in bunny ears for like 3 years after we got married. Because we just didn't, there was just no way it was going to happen and it to be enjoyable. And that was a real sort of big striking moment. It was a distinct, from this point on, things were never the same after that.
So it impacted everything.
It impacted everything. I mean, everything, the daily interactions, intimacy, just how we went about things, moods. We were snipping at each other, little snide digs. And that I was obviously trying to make a business work. And I wanted it to be a family business. I wanted my wife to be involved, and she didn't give a hoot. She wasn't. If you listen to what she tells other people, it was her who built it, and it was her who was saying, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have a business. But it's like she literally did the books. I think. Well, she half did the books for the first year, and then after that, just give up. And I got to 1 year where I'm like, "Where are the accounts?" And I need to get them into the accountant. Well, they're in that thing, and I looked in and I'm like, they're not done. Well, like, what's in this and what's in that? But I've got to get them in like a week, and they're not done. I was like, right, I'm just going to have to do this myself because you're obviously not bothered. And obviously the stress of running a business, which she never understood, because she's always just had a job.
Yeah. And
I think unless you've tried to work for yourself, and certainly when you're a small company, and like me, there's me.
You're working all the time.
You've got to do everything.
Yeah.
You've got to wear all the hats, and it's, So yeah, that was just, after that, things were just never the same. That was really the start of like the downfall, which is crazy because I think I kept on because I was hoping that things would come back. If I do this, if I do that, blah, 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 it'll make it, well, I'll be able to make it work. And I'll be able, don't get me wrong, I'm no angel and all of this. There's times where, like I say, I'd say shit things, because I'd snip or, but this is the thing when sort of you hear these stories about people and how these ex-partners say, oh, you're this and oh, you're that, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, that's just relationships. And regardless of if it's a relationship with someone of the other sex, or it's a relationship within your friends or whatever, there's always going to be moments where you go, oh, get out, and that's just human. That's just human.
Yeah.
That's just human nature. That's just how people are.
You think about friends and the amount of time you fall out and say stupid shit.
Yeah.
It's quite often.
God, yeah. It can be quite often, and you can say something. My best mate, it's like, he'd done something once, and I'm like, he walked over to me, I'm like, go away. And he looked at me, and I went, go away. I'm not talking to you. And he went, okay. And he turned around and walked off. Now, if I turned around and said that to her, and like 2 days later, me and him sat down, I was like, wasn't happy with this, blah, 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 blah. You'd caught me at the moment where I'd found out about whatever, really wasn't in a happy mood, but you did the right thing. You let me calm down. I'm sorry. If I'd have turned around to her and said, go away, just leave me alone, it just would have all blown out. It's like, no, I'm trying to.
Did she ever get support or help? I know griefs in time should diminish, but if it's gone on for about 18 months, that's quite serious.
I don't think she did, because I don't think she wanted help. It's like, that was, like I said, the grief was more important to her than anything else. And I've even said this, I was like, you were so absolved in your grief that you couldn't see that your new husband was failing, trying to help fix you and to try and fix the situation and to help and do stuff. And your answer was to shove me away. And I was like, you were so absolved in your own grief that you couldn't see that our marriage that was 3 days old had just fell apart. And it was like, that's really selfish. I know it sounds bad, but you've got to be aware of other things. You can't just discount everything else because of one thing. I certainly not because of the timing of things as well.
Yeah.
It was, but even then, even now, I don't think she's ever actually sort of accepted that.
You mentioned it was about 18 months until she sort of came back. So you're about 6 years into the relationship.
Yeah.
How was it then? Was there anything that happened to bring her back, or was it just one day she's a bit better?
It was just that kind of gradual sort of leaching back into, just kind of melding back into things. I knew things still weren't right. There was no. It was obvious that everything seemed a chore to her. There was but yeah, it just. I think what it is, it's like you just get on with stuff. You just get on with your day to day, and then this is like where people say about being bored in a relationship, say, and it's like life for the most part is pretty boring. You wake up, you might see your partner for half an hour, you go to work, you come home, you have tea, you go to bed.
Yeah,
that's pretty much life for the most part during the week. That's pretty much life, and you have little pockets of fun or trips or parties or whatever. But for the most part, it's mundane, it's boring. You're just doing the rat race, going through the motions, and people mistake security for mundane and boring. Because if you've got a secure life, you're going about your things, you've got a job, they've got a job, and you're what's saying you've got money to get by and all that. That means you're secure. That means you're okay. And people mistake that for being bored, and then start to look for reasons why things aren't better. And it was one thing I always used to say. She used to watch Hollyoaks. Oh my God, what tripe. And I used to say, life isn't like that, Real life isn't like that. And she would kind of mimic things like that. Like we'd be having a good run. Couple of months, say. We'd be getting on. We'd be having a laugh. We'd be, cheeky messages. That we'd be intimate. God, a few times a week instead of once every couple of months, and then out of nowhere, it'd be like just a whirlwind to an argument over nothing, and I'd be sat there and I'd be like, what's just happened? And I'm like, properly sideswiped. But then I think that was her way of kind of bringing the game back into her court. She was back in control again.
Like she wanted an argument.
Yeah. Because then obviously I'm sorry, babe, I shouldn't have done that.
It's on her terms.
I'm and as much if you used to listen to it, he never apologises. No, I always apologise, because if I didn't, we did not move past it. If I didn't cower and get on my hands and knees and say, oh, I'm really bad, blah 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 blah, we never moved past that point. She never apologised. Never. And she's like, yes, I did. You didn't. I know you didn't, because you never did it. And it was always, like I say, it was that kind of, that narcissistic trick of doing something to basically like hard reset. And then they've got control of everything again. Because obviously you were getting too cocky and you were getting too comfortable, and that can't be, you can't be seen to be having like a kind of not being control of things, but like they don't want you to be getting too sure of yourself.
I mean, at this point, after you've been together for say 6 years, it's not been a great 2 years marriage. What made you stay at this point? Just as more of an observation, really.
I was married.
You saw it as once you're married, you married for life.
Commitment, and you don't just walk away from in my younger years, as most people would, you'd go on a date with you'd have a girlfriend, and then you'd see a model that you prefer, and you'd dump that one and go with somebody else, and and you do that through your younger years, and I was determined to not just give up at the first hurdle, because I'd made vows, and like I said, never wanted to get married, but I thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And again, I thought things would get better. Then we stupidly decided to try for children.
Whose idea was it? Is it mutual?
She never wanted kids.
Okay.
The way she sorry, let's see.
Do you want a tissue?
Oh yeah, if you don't mind. I'm all. I don't know why I don't have hay fever or anything like that. But... Please do, thank you. Being out in the countryside. Oh, that's better. I can breathe now. Yeah, she never. When we first met, it was always she never wanted kids. She never wanted kids. She never wanted kids. Then when we were together, it was like, it's not that she didn't want kids. She didn't want kids with her previous husband because he was this, that, and whatever else. I'd always wanted kids, so that was kind of, she knew my stance on it. And we started trying, and things didn't work. Because of her working background, she had knowledge on matters. So we went to the doctors and started going through tests for fertility treatment, which is, that's pretty tough going.
I've got friends that have gone through it.
Yeah, it was 4 years for us. 3 years, 4 years, something like that. The timing's probably a bit askew, really, because with one thing and another. But yeah, it was probably kind of falls in line with us having problems. But yeah, it was really difficult. And again, as the man, your role's really insignificant.
Yeah,
and all you can do is be there for someone. All you can do is, just support them and watch them pump himself full of drugs every day and feel nauseous and feel sick and do all these things and just not be getting results.
So the first round didn't take.
So we went through IUI first, and then you get 2 courses of IVF. Basically, IUI is like
I'm not aware of that one.
That's like basically posh turkey baster.
Okay.
That's what they do. You do a sample as the man. They then clinically insert it into your partner. It's basically a posh turkey baster, a whole Brookside thing. And yeah, that didn't take. So then we started IVF. There was a few things that happened in between that, different tests you had to do and different what things you had to go through. And the first one took.
Okay,
Yeah, and then 2 days later, the world went upside down.
another lockdown baby.
Yeah. Yeah, literally 2 days when he announced it on the TV. And
was it March 2020?
I think it was February, actually. I think it was the February, when he announced it. That's when the world went to shit. It was either February or March, the end of February, early March. I can't remember. I think it was the 22nd of Feb's in my head. And yeah, that's right, because my daughter would have been due in November. And yeah, the world just...
Yeah.
And it was a high-risk pregnancy. And going... So we were, you know, we were on board with the fertility team. We are, you know, when you're going through that, the money that they're investing in you and whatever, you're treated differently. And I think it might have been an 8-week scan, and we had a really great relationship with the nurses at the fertility hospital. We used to laugh and joke with them, and it was great. And yeah, being told that I wasn't allowed to go in, and she'd had bad news. We were having a bleed, and I was told that I wasn't allowed in, and yeah, just crushed. Again, just another time where you're just helpless. There's nothing you can do other than just sit in your van and wait. And that's all I had to do.
So is that when she was already pregnant and she was gonna, or is this just as she's going through the IVF?
No, we were pregnant at that point when, like I said, we found out we were pregnant, and then 2 or 3 days later, the world went to pot, which was, yeah, it was. I remember saying, like, you're not going into... She worked at a hospital. I was like, you're not going into work. Absolutely not. Like, it's been a 4-year journey. We are not. We don't know anything. How's it going to affect the baby? How's it going to affect you? You are not going in. And we had months of arguments with her work. And I'm like, you guys should be like the first people to go. Not a problem. We'll get you set up working at home. This is totally okay. Because the role, she could be remote, doesn't always only admin. And it's like, we had to fight. And they just didn't seem to grasp it. That it was not something we were willing to sort of give on, you know.
I know it's pretty crazy at the time. I remember it, and not everyone, well, no one really knew what was happening, and
yeah,
didn't know what to trust and the rest of it.
Yeah, that was it. It was the complete unknown of it all, and you know, we were having to go to hospitals every week, every couple of weeks because you know, it was a high risk pregnancy. Because like once you're over 35, you're classed as geriatric.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we were having to go to these places, and obviously we were worried about everything. And then we started having problems.
Between years?
No, with the baby.
Okay.
Yeah. There was... So they do a test. They do a test that can indicate Downs. There's 3 with the major sort of syndromes that can cause problems, and they were like, yeah, it's a 1 in 5 chance. I was like, what now? Like 1 in 5. I'm like, that's not gambling odds. So then we had to go and do an extra test.
There's one where you can pre-inject.
So you're thinking of a where they take the embryotic fluid out. So we didn't want to do that because it's invasive,
very risky.
and that does come with risks. So there's another test that we could go and do, but it was private. We had to pay for that, and that was about 400 quid. I was like, let's just do it, you know. And we went there, and the probability came back. It was like a telephone number. it was like literally 1 in 7 million and whatever. We were like, cool, we're good. And then we thought we were okay. Went back to the hospital, more tests, more scans, more this. And I remember one of them with the doctor's doing a scan, and then he's looking, and then he's like, you can kind of just see him sort of pick up on something, and he comes back, and he looks again, and he's what seems, and he sort of gets someone else in, and by this point I'm like, oh, what the fuck's going on? You can read people, you know. I knew something was wrong. and he was saying that there was a problem with the baby. He didn't know if it was going to have problems. And then she ended up with preeclampsia, and that was really bad. So we were in hospital like every couple of days.
Which one's preeclampsia?
Preeclampsia is blood pressure. So we were in hospital like every few days, and it was a bit of a. At the time, they did not want you in hospitals.
No,
They categorically did not want you in a hospital unless you had COVID. And how they treated you because of that, it was literally that was the kind of story. So she'd go in, her blood pressure would be like sky high. Get into the hospital, like, all right, sit here and just sit down there, and you'd sit there for like an hour and a half, and then they'd get a reading, like, all right, your blood pressure's okay now, off you go. I'm like, yeah, but that's not fixing it. Well, is this, that, blah, 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 blah. I was like, yeah, but you've not fixed it. All you've done is sat her still for an hour and a half, let her blood pressure come down. I was like, and then you get rid of her. It says, by the time we walked down the stairs, because you couldn't use the lifts, because of COVID, you weren't allowed in the lift at the time. It's like, by the time we walked down the stairs, her blood pressure's going to be back at what it was again. I was like, what we supposed, this isn't solving the problem. And we literally just got bounced around the system for months. And in amongst everything else that was going on, toilet paper shortages and all the other things that were seemed to be more important.
Yeah, don't remind me about that. Some become extremely valuable. I do remember my youngest, my ex gave birth to him April 2020. So we went, it was a very short period, in and out.
Yeah.
It was very short. It's like, all right, birth, sit there for an hour, out the door.
Yeah, you see.
They send you out pretty sharpish.
Yeah, that wasn't us. We were, so my daughter was 3 months premature.
3 months?
Yeah. Yeah, she was as big as a bag of sugar.
My brother's just had a baby that was about 2 months premature.
Yeah, 3. She fit my hand. And we spent 116 days in NICU.
During COVID?
Yes. Yeah. And when my daughter was born, she was born in Oldham. So I travelled 52 mile every day because I was the dad and you're worthless as the dad. And I was only allowed in for, I think, 2 or 3 hours. So I travelled 52 mile a day, there and back. So I could spend my 2 hours with my wife and my tiny little baby. As well as trying to keep a house, look after the pets, run a business that was clinging on by its teeth because, everything went to shit. But supposedly I didn't do anything.
In the run up to all the IVF, were the two of you dating still? Were you going out on dates?
Rarely. We used to go to cinema maybe once a week or something, or there'd be little bits. But yeah, there wasn't. That might have been me. I'm not one for like pubs, club. When I used to go out, I was a DJ. I'd go to a club. Never been one for pubs really. I don't mind going out for a drink, but I don't really want to sit in a pub with the other yobbos. So we never used to do that. We'd go for a meal. We'd go out for. We'd go to cinema. We'd do things, but I think I was maybe too absorbed in trying to make a business work, trying to find my footing in something to see, which way I was going.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did stuff, but just maybe not as much as what we should have done. And I think everyone would probably say that,
Yeah. You tend to find that after so long, it's the prior, it sort of fades away a little bit, and it just doesn't, it's not there as much, although it should be.
I think I say it's kind of falling back to that life is mundane thing. You know, you just get into the motion of just the daily grind, and you know, certainly as well, you got plans for this, you got plans for that, you want money for this thing, you want money to do the house, blah blah blah. So do you know what? Let's not go out. Let's save up. Let's, instead of going out, let's get a takeaway or whatever. You know, and I think that's what just the route we then went down, because you know we wanted to do the garden, we wanted to do this for the house, we wanted to decorate, we wanted to. And it all cost money, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we didn't do nothing by any lengths. But yeah, we might have been able to do a bit more.
So you mentioned your baby was in, is it
Intensive care?
Yeah,
in NICU.
You have a
Yeah.
skiboo and some.
Yeah.
For 3 months.
4 months.
4.
She was 3 months
Oh,
premature.
so you had
She was 3 months premature. She was in hospital for 4 months.
Yeah, you said about 120 days.
116, yeah. It's seared into the back of my mind.
What was it like the day your baby came home?
3 days before Christmas.
Is that
Yeah.
okay? That's pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
Can you remember the drive home?
So when you leave NICU, it's a big thing. Certainly when you've been quite a long, we've seen so many people come and go, you know. And when you're leaving, like all the nurses, they all line up in the corridor and they all want to say congratulate you, and you know, when you want to say goodbye, and we literally went bye. And I can remember, like, I just marched off. I've got an oxygen tank on my back because
They gave you an oxygen tank.
my daughter was on oxygen. Yeah. She still is a little bit now, but only when she gets a cold or something like that. I remember I had an oxygen tank on my back. I've got her in a little carrier thing, and I think when she left, I think she was £4 something. Like, she didn't even, the newborn bit in the car seat was too big.
Yeah.
She was tiny. And I just marched off, and she was like, "You going to slow down?" I'm like, no, I'm not slowing down. I'm getting to that car as quick as I can. So then I'm out of here. I was like, we're done. We're going home. Like, we're going home. And it was... I remember people used to say to us, "Oh, you know, you've taken her home now. It's now the real fun begins." And I'm like, no. And he used to look at you, I'm like, I've bathed my daughter through portals in an incubator. I can absolutely guarantee you nothing is harder than that. While she's on oxygen and all the other probes in what time, I was like, trust me, us going home is going to be easy.
Yeah.
And people can't... Yes, she had extra needs at the time. But one thing we always used to say is that there was always, like you said earlier, you know, when you start talking to people, you find there's always someone worse off.
Yeah, God.
It's exactly the same with that. We were in hospital with some people and they never went home. You know, we had to console other parents because they never got to take their baby home. So yeah, it was. It was a fantastic time because we were home, and that was the biggest thing. Like, and again, I think maybe two very different journeys for the two of us through it all. She was pretty much at the hospital every day. I think I had to force her to come home for a day because she just would not leave. And I'm like, you need to come home and just like, I'm going to go and spend the day with her. Like, you need to come home and just do something else. I'm going to spend the day with her. But the journeys were very different. Like, I can't stress enough how down the nose people looked at you because you're a dad. I remember when we'd gone back to the hospital at home, and I think it was 2 hours, was it 3 hours? And there was, so in the little room that you're in, there'd be 4 beds, and there could be 4 mums in there, or 4 parents that were allowed there all day long, 24 hours, and when your partners came in, they were only allowed 2 hours, right? And there was just me, my partner, and a little girl. No one else was there. And I think I'd gone 10 minutes over the time. And this matron come in and she's like, right, Dad needs to leave now. And my partner was like, excuse me? Well, time's up. Dad needs to leave. She went, no, one of us needs to leave. I was like, don't worry, babe, I'll go. I don't want to cause any hot teams. And she tore into her, like, my ex was like, how dare you? It was like, and it was like, there was no one else in the room. Now, I understand rules. You know,
Yeah,
rules are there for a reason. But come on, bit of common sense. It's like, you could have 4 parents in there, and that was okay. But just the 2 of us being in there on our own was a problem. Oh, I got to the point at the end of it where I was just like, I couldn't believe that the people were talking to me like this. And like, you were looked at as a second citizen, almost. It was horrible, and I don't think, unless you probably got a bit of it, because, like I say, you were right in the midst of it, and it was literally, I'd imagine you weren't allowed in until the birth, and then you were kicked out straight away.
Well, it was odd, really. I was allowed in, I think it was like a couple hours just before the birth. The birth happened pretty quick, and I was allowed to sit at the side, but then we pretty much kicked us both out. They planned that because on the previous one, it wasn't a simple birth. I think they gave us a bit more leeway.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've had a dead easy birth, they're not as asked as much. Whereas hers was a bit more complicated. So I think they were quite happy for me to be there. I didn't see too many issues, but it was more once the baby was there, they'd done the checks, they just kicked us both out.
Yeah.
We weren't there for long.
Right.
I think all in all, I don't know how many hours, probably 8 hours or something we were in the hospital.
All right.
So
Yeah, it wasn't long.
it was very short.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would have been great.
Yeah.
It was, but yeah, I was gobsmacked. And I can't remember how many times I apologised. I'm sorry I've stayed a bit longer, I'll go. Or can I come in? I was like I was walking on eggshells. At every opportunity, I was like, am I okay to be here? You know, and as well, normally in NICU, your family is allowed to come in because it's murder. It's horrible. And because of COVID, there was no one. We weren't allowed anyone. So there was just us. And I even now, like, I've got, I'd say it's PTSD of it. Like the beeps on the machines.
Yeah.
Because that's all I've heard for 4 months.
I know the waiting room that you're on about because my brother was at Oldham, and it's on the left hand side, that little waiting room, where you can you're allowed to go and sit there for a shot. It's not a big room. But yeah, they get funny about people being in there.
Yeah. But like I say, the alarms, like if I hear like the ping pong, like on a machine, anything, something like that, it just puts me back there. It's horrible. But yeah, it's
So what was it like the first month, say?
Oh God.
I guess in comparison to being in the hospital, it was much better.
Yeah, so by that point we obviously had a good handle on dealing with things and dealing with obviously a baby which needed a bit more care. We, like I say, when you've done what we've done, that wasn't difficult. We had a great Christmas, first Christmas together as a family. We got to see family and friends. I think we'd, and then it was like my birthday very soon after that. It's very, very close to Christmas, and it was great. Again, we were dealing with this new wonderful little ball of sick and poop, and I think we were. I think maybe we felt a bit more connected because of that, but we were still very much. I think she was suffering with postnatal depression, and it never got discussed or never got sort of talked about. I'm positive that was the case with a second daughter, because it was another light switch moment.
How long was it between the first and second child? Was it
2 years?
Okay. So after the first month that I mentioned, your relationship between your ex, it settled down.
Yeah, I think we got into the family routine. Obviously I took 2 weeks off, I think, from work, to still be doing stuff with them, but obviously I needed to go back in and do work. When she was born, I took a big step back. I took my foot off the gas completely and I stopped actively looking for work. Luckily, because my overheads are low, that wasn't a problem. It kind of teetered on, but it was getting to the point where I needed to be in work because I needed money. The business wasn't going to support itself, unfortunately, because there's only me, and if I'm not there doing anything, nothing happens. So yeah, we got into that family routine. And again, I think for the early months, everything was good. We started doing things. We started going out meeting other parents, as you do. We found groups to go to. We did activities. Again, I think maybe I could have been more involved, but this again comes back to this male-female divide. A woman gets nearly 12 months, can have 9 or 12 months of maternity leave, and as a dad you get 2.
Yeah.
2 weeks, and you're kind of forced into a situation. You've got to go into work, you've got to go back, you've got to go and do your things. And I think because of that, a lot of women feel like they're being abandoned and being left to do all the bits and do all the stuff, and it's like, well, it's not like I've got a choice. I'd much rather be here, not.
That's how it sort of works out. It's
just, that's just how it is. Yeah, it was, and so yeah, we just kind of got into the motion of things.
That's good. So you say you were doing all the family stuff. I'm guessing between having spent more time now back at work, your partner's now looking after the child. When did it come up about having a second child, especially after the whole situation of the first child?
No, that wasn't the conversation. We both said we wanted a second.
Okay.
But neither of us were willing to go through what we went through.
So I'm guessing that would have been in the back of your mind, I imagine.
It could have happened again. Increased chances, actually. And we were like, no, we can't. We were like, you know what? We've got one. She's amazing. Let's just be happy with this one that's amazing. Let's put all the focus on this one. Both of us come from, I'm one of 4, she's one of I think 5, and a couple of stepbrothers and sisters and stuff, big families. So it'd be nice, and neither of the families were ever rich or had money. So it was like, do you know what? Let's just give this one everything we've got and make sure that they have a fantastic, fantastic life. So it was agreed that she'd gone through enough. She'd had a cesarean, emergency cesarean. She'd obviously been through IVF, poking herself full of drugs and what seems for months and years. So I was like, do you know what? I'll take one for the team. I'll have a vasectomy. I was like, as I said, I don't want to see you go through any more pain and discomfort. It's not fair, and it's a much simpler procedure for a man than it is a woman. So let's just go and do it. So yeah, I went and got the snip.
How was that? I've considered it. But then my friend told me and explained it, and he nearly knocked me sick.
You know what? The actual procedure, I've had various medical procedures. I've stomach problems, and I'm poked and prodded, and cameras up and down, and all that. I've had so I've got a really valuable left testicle.
How so?
There's like 1,500 quid's worth of platinum in there.
Oh, right, okay.
I had a it's called a varicocele. So it's basically a varicose vein, but in your testicles. And the way they do it is they come in through your stomach, and it's all you're awake. It's all on a camera, and they come up through here and round and down, and it's the most surreal thing, because even though they give you like an anaesthesia and that, you can feel them squirreling around inside you. It is weird. So I've had a few things where I've been awake.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, cool. The 2 weeks afterwards, I was not in a good way. Like, I really struggled. I think it's because I had some good painkillers off a friend, and it made me constipated, and then I was just ill. Like, it was over Christmas as well. I was ill. Yeah.
I've heard it's meant to be really difficult, painful afterwards. Like, you're meant to wear 2 pairs of boxers.
Oh, yeah, you've got to have... they give you a jockstrap. It's like the most unattractive, uncomfortable thing ever. I felt like something off Clockwork Orange. And I've 9 people out of 10 don't have any symptoms afterwards. I'm one of the ones. So I've suffered with pain, lumps. You can get what's called like nodules, and like literally, when I say like a ball bearing, like a 10 or 12 mil ball bearing, where it's like, and it's great to be able to think that you don't have to worry about protection and things like that, but I've not been the same since.
Really?
Like, yeah. Whereas before, I could quite happily, you'd put a session in, right, love, we got some champagne, we got the candles on, and it's like, we've got all night. How long you want to do it? All night, and you go hours. You know what I mean? Nah, not happening now. Like literally once, maybe twice, and that's it. Like, because it's uncomfortable, and maybe that's that. I think that's just me.
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, and it is. It's, but I also think that is some of the social conditioning from the relationship, because like for the sort of previous 6 years of a marriage, sex was weaponized. It was like, I had to be a good boy. If we had an argument, forget it. 8 to 10 weeks, 12 weeks, just like nothing. And it was, I'd have to, again, it was getting to the point I'd have to beg. And I think that is kind of maybe lingering. That mixed with the vasectomy, I think is... I found it difficult to move past since leaving my wife, and obviously being with different partners. I don't feel I can fully
Is it still the same as before? Is it improved, corrected itself?
No. It's still, like I say, I'm still not 100% with it. It's, I think it's just one of those, isn't it? It's, practice makes perfect. Maybe you need to practice more.
Sure.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Can't complain at that.
Not practice on my own either. You know what I mean? It's like that. That's not.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same. But certainly I think everyone is different with something like that. But I know for me, like, my libido's different, and
That's worrying though. For me,
I think, I'm getting to that point in my life, and I'm hitting a milestone birthday next year, and I think you start, you're not a horny little teenager. You don't want to just hump everything that moves. But again, I think because I've been conditioned over the last however many years in my relationship, that, so she held the cards, that it was completely on her terms. And I think that, again, it's like PTSD. It's like, it's something that I can't shift. Just like the first time I slept with someone after leaving my wife, I felt sick. I felt horrible. I thought I'd had an affair. I felt sick to the back teeth. And I was like, just, and the girl had done nothing wrong. She was fine. And
it was something
great.
you were harbouring.
Yeah, but like, I honestly felt I'd had an affair. I felt sick. Just like horrible feeling. Like I cheated on her and I'd done something wrong. And no, we're 14 months down the line, and I don't feel like that as much. Well, I don't feel like that now. But yeah, there's still lingering things.
It goes back to that spending so much time with somebody.
Yeah,
you grow attached to them.
of course. Yeah, of course. It's all isn't it?
Yeah. I must admit, I have moments where you somehow feel associated with that person, but I know it's all sort of, it's just the time that you spent together.
Yeah, of course.
It's like still being in this place.
Yeah.
It's the family home.
Yeah.
So
see this, like, so just kind of light on that. It's like, she hated the house. Never liked it. I wanted a mid-terrace. I wanted this. I wanted that. Blah, 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 blah. The rooms are too small. The kitchens are too small. I can't walk around the bed. Blah, blah, blah. One inch. It was a lovely house. 3-bedroom semi. Big drive. Big garden, like you've seen, that. And then after I redone it all, a beautiful garden. Yeah, but now all of a sudden she wants to stay in the house and force me out of it and expects me to not have anything. I was like, why do you want to stay in something that you hated? Or did you just say that to me to try and wear me down? I've stopped trying to question now, because I just run around in circles.
I don't know. I don't know if it's one. If they get to stay in the house, it's whether or not she knows she might be there with somebody else, and then it was your place and now it's not, and whether or not she wants to hurt you in that would.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I try not to think about it, I'll be honest now. I've got to the point where I just try not to think. My friend's dad, actually, he says, you need to stop trying to control what you can't control. Stop what's him about her. Got no what's him on that whatsoever. But you can control you, and you can control your reaction to things. Focus on that. And that was like, all right, yeah, I get that. I can see what you're saying. And that really helped me a lot, that kind of made me sort of refocus a little bit. So yeah, just let it, whatever. I'm not interested now.
So you came to the point of where you agreed or you decided on a second child? And you started going through the motions of it. Did you have to go through IVF a second time, or did it just
Oh, no, like I say, we said we weren't having to. I had a vasectomy.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And,
So you said you wasn't.
yeah, I think a few weeks afterwards, so like when you have the snip, you've got to do like so many passes of,
It's like 28.
yeah, something like that. And I remember one day I'm like, still works, It's like, I've practiced it, it works. It's like, we're out the numbers. Well, how about we have like mummy and daddy night, like, well, because it was around the time of my birthday as well. And she was like, I don't feel well. I really don't feel well. What do you mean you don't feel well? I just feel sick. I feel horrible. Right, okay, so let's go home. We were out shopping, I think. And on the way home, I'm like, driving back. I says, have you got a pregnancy test at home? Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. You've had the snip. Don't be stupid. Now at this point, this week's it's interesting. We'd not had sex for like since November. We'd not had sex.
Okay.
We'd not had intercourse. We played around a bit, but we'd not had penetrative sex. We'd not done that. And I'm like, just get in, find it, and go and do the test. Like, it removes something. It's like, well, she's like, well, I'm 2 weeks late or whatever. Like, just go and do the test. Anyway, comes downstairs in tears. She was pregnant. And it was like, oh, what the fuck? So we booked a private scan at a place we went to through COVID, because obviously COVID at the time, we couldn't get scans with the NHS as readily. So we went to a private place in Bury. Really good, really great. And we get there and like, oh, there's something there, but it could just be a pregnancy that's stalled and is not what's saying. Come back next week. We'll book you in for free. Come back next week. So we goes back a week later and they're like, yep, there's a heartbeat. And they're like, so it puts it. She's like, oh, it puts it at the date of. She's like 6 weeks ago, so it was like beginning of December. When was the last time you had sex? I was like, well, it wasn't then. She looked at me and I was like, we didn't have sex. Because I got my date for my vasectomy like the end of November. So I'm like, and it was like to the end of November when it happened. It was like the 18th or something. Middle of December. So I was like, I've got my date for my snip. They bought it what's in, which is great because I'm off now engineering like you, Christmas time, you stop for like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, great time. I'm not going to lose any time off work. Brilliant. And I was kind of expecting a bit of effort on her behalf. I was going through with this big operation, so she didn't have to go through something. I was kind of expecting a bit of a last hurrah, Come in one night with maybe some nice underwear. Something, you would do for your partner.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, nothing. And I remember when she dropped me off for it, because it was like I was in for the day sort of thing. And she dropped me off and I just got out of the car and walked off. Because I was fuming. And again, it sounds selfish, but it's like, how could my partner not go, because as well, I'm going through something that's going to completely wipe me out there's going to be no intimacy. There's going to be no what's saying, because, I'm not really going to be wanting people going near your junk once you've had an operation on it. And, I just got out of the car and walked off. So I was like, I know we didn't have sex. So we were sat there and it was like, well, how has it happened? And she was like, well, have you done anything? I'm like, well, we've played around with each other. She went, yeah, that's it then. And I'm like, I literally sat there and I went, what? You're telling me it was like flubber? It just sort of crawled up the inside of a leg? I was like, no. She was like, honestly, she said, even if it was on a towel, it can survive for 7 days. And if she's used then that towel to wipe herself down, mate, this is a sonographer in a pregnancy, what's name? And I'm like, nah. She's like, yes. Nah. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, there's not many people can say they've got 2 kids, and they've not had sex for either of them. Because when my first daughter was conceived, there was like 13 other people in the room. It was IVF, there's her, a doctor, an anaesthetist, somebody else to what's her name, and I'm just sat there with my little things on, like, yeah. And then the second time round, it's like I wanked on the toilet seat and she sat down on it. It was like, what? So, yeah, she was distraught, like properly distraught. I was, I think, a bit more... I was more of the mind of, obviously it was meant to be. We decided we weren't having to, and somehow, how the fuck it happened, I don't know. Somehow, this second one has made it through.
Did you ever question it a bit more?
Oh, God, yeah.
With the dates and all that?
Yeah. Well, we'd had an argument like the end of November, and she disappeared for like 3 days. Took my daughter, just disappeared. Wouldn't tell me where she'd been. With friends. I'm like, what friends? I know all your friends. I've just been with friends. Now, this is something that I've picked up on more since the split. How she talks, how she conducts herself, how she thinks she's being smart and trying to outmove you, but she gives away everything. What friends? I know all your friends. Your friends are our friends. We've got most of the same friends. There's only a couple of our own friends that we've got. So yeah, I did question it. Obviously, there was a lot going on. Plus, as well, it just something didn't sit right. When she was born, I even questioned that more, because like my first daughter, she looked like me. My second daughter doesn't.
A lot, like, not like you.
Yeah, nothing like me.
But sometimes it can be one looks like one parent.
Yeah,
that can.
That's more, I think, a case of what it happened. But it didn't put my mind at rest at all. Like I was in a really uncertain point there, because I was doubting myself, and I've been doubting myself for months. For 9 months, 8 months, because I'm not stupid. And there's all these things running through my head.
I've found that women tend not to come out with the truth until you have it on a piece of paper in black and white.
Oh, no, even if you was to do that, she would still deny it.
Yeah, they'll deny it up until the end of time.
Yeah, she will literally. You could tell her that the sky's blue, and she'll be like, no, it's pink.
Yeah.
No, it's blue. You can see it's blue. No, it's pink. No, but it's blue. You can see it's pink, because that's what she believes. And so that was. But again, because of the difficulties we had with her first birth, we were back in the system. Checks every couple of weeks, every 2 weeks, into hospital once every 2 weeks, a couple of times a month. Back and two. But because of the difficulties we had with the first birth, they put us on straight under the care of St. Mary's. So we were there like all the time. And that's where they were much more on top of things. But then we started having problems. Like, there was a lot of rows, a lot of arguments. I remember one of the scans we were supposed to go to. She was going on her own. She wouldn't tell me. She wouldn't WhatsApp me. She wouldn't let me go. I turned up. It was a scan for me. I don't even know what the argument was over, I'll be honest.
Seems unusual to have an argument about a scan.
Oh, God, I can't even remember what it was. But yeah, we started having a lot of problems then. It was it was getting harder. I remember that December when we'd had this big row, and I remember saying to her, I was like, you need to get your shit in order, because you're not in this relationship. Like, you're not my wife, you're just my housemate. That was literally, we were in separate beds. So we've always co-slept with her daughters. And there was always a reason. You snore, you move this, you do that, blah 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 blah. And I was like, right, fair enough. I appreciate you've got to get sleep. You know, you've got a daughter all day. You know, you're tired. It's hard. I get that. I'm working, but you know, like once a week, can we share the bed? Can we share a bed as a family? And like, so we can just have once a week. She did it once, and then that was it. You know, and it wouldn't happen again for like months and months and months. And I was sleeping in a separate bed, in my own bed. And I remember saying to her before vasectomy, like, you need to get your act together because you are not in this relationship. There's only one of us working. Oh, you think you're working at it. It's like, I know I'm working at it because I'm doing stuff. I says, and I know that I'm doing the things I'm doing because I'm actively doing it. I said, and you know what? I know that you're not doing the things that you're doing because you're not doing it. It's that simple. You know, I'm sat here and I can see you're not doing the things that I've asked you to. And I think that was probably the sort of the cracks were getting bigger at that point, you know. Again, turbulent pregnancy. We ended up spending a couple of weeks in hospital with my second daughter because of a few things. I had doubts as well because of you know, if it was mine. And yeah, it wasn't easy. And I just don't think, I think at that point, it's like literally after the birth of a second daughter, she changed. Different person.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was, again, postnatal depression. Absolutely. Because, you know, a bit like yourself, you talk to people, you discuss things. And one of my friends, he was like, postnatal depression, guarantee you. He went, my missus did exactly the same, get it to the doctors. And I tried tentatively, because again, whenever I'd kind of broach something like that, it would be like, oh, my fault again, is it? It's like, no, I'm not blaming you, but if there's something that needs addressing, I think we should go through the channels to address this. So I kind of tentatively tiptoed around it, and when that didn't seem to get any notice taken, I was a bit more sort of blunt with it. It's like, I think you've got postnatal depression, I think we should go to the doctors. And it was hackles up, oh, that's it, I'm to blame, blah 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 blah, you're never right, you're what's the blah blah. And I was just like, whoa, you know, you there's something wrong because you're not yourself. This isn't you. And there was arguments over nothing, and just everything I did was wrong, and it was just like, it shouldn't be. By this point, I was like, this isn't good, you know. But she wasn't willing to see if there was something there. Again, I think the grief is more important. She didn't want to address it because that kind of fueled their own fire, I think.
Yeah.
You know, sure as God, if someone was to around you and go, you know, this is a problem, I think you should go and talk to someone. Oh, right, fair enough. Why? What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I've noticed a change in your personality, blah, 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 blah. Right, okay. And of all the people in the world, I know you better than anybody else. So if I've noticed a change in you, then but you should... No, there was none of that. It was like I was trying to blame her.
How was the relationship with the first child going at this point? Was that going okay?
Yeah. She was fine. She was great. She's always been a very happy and wonderful little child. Still concerns, you know. I think there's developmental things going on in the background. We've got concerns over learning difficulties. But yeah, no, the relationship with the first one was golden. You know, it was great to have a family unit. Say I always wanted to. I always wanted a boy and a girl, and unfortunately, at that point, I realised I was always going to be outnumbered. So yeah.
So how long did your relationship with your ex continue in that fashion before it?
6 months. It was 6 months after my second daughter was 6 months old when we separated. And again, an argument over nothing. a second daughter wasn't well, and I had to go to a show, a bike show. I was delivering some bikes for a friend to this show in Manchester. And I was like, well, I've got to go on this Sunday. I've got to go. I've dropped bikes off there. I've got to go to pick them up. And it was like, it's this big one. Why are you pretending like you're single? And I was like, oh, okay. This is, we're doing this now then. I was like, right, okay. I was like, it's because you've made it like that. I was like, you are not. And I repeated what I said. I was like, you are not my housewife. You are not my wife. You're just my housemate. I was like, and you've done that, not me. You've removed yourself from this situation so much that it's no longer. I don't even look at you like you're my wife anymore, because you've done everything you can to take yourself out of this family unit. We slept in separate beds for like nearly 3 years at this point. Intimacy was down to every couple of months, and that was then like I was like again like I had to beg, but it was always like I was the one with the problem. And it just got to the point where I was like, I said the other year that I wasn't going to put up with another year in a rubbish relationship. I was like, I've had enough, so I can't do this anymore. And I left. I walked out the house. Just couldn't. I'd spent like 11 years at that point trying, working at it. Like we said earlier, why did you stick at it? I was married. You work at things, you go through the motions, you try and move forward, you try and, I got to the point where I was like, I deserve better than this, And I just, that was the breaking point.
So what was the fallout immediately after, or was there any?
We didn't speak for a week.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't speak for a week. And then
Don't know why I did that.
We didn't speak for a week, and then we had a mutual friend's wedding that we were going to, so we put on a brave united face for that. It was their wedding. We weren't gonna close family friends. We weren't gonna sort of tarnish that day for them. And I went back to the house to put the girls to bed with her. Because at this point as well, we'd had a leak in the kitchen. So kitchen was decimated. So we were in a separate house. We were in a house provided for by the insurance. So I'd gone back home to this house with no kitchen or anything while all this was going on. And so I went back to the property that she was in. And I was like, we've got the girls into bed. I'm like, can we talk? It's late. It's 10:30. It's late. I want to go to bed. I'm like, nothing's more important than this family and this relationship. I'm like, time doesn't come into it. No, I don't want to do this now. I was like, when do you want to do it? Because it's been a week and you've not spoke to me. And she'd said some things when we'd sort of separated the week before. I knew I should have finished with you years ago. I was like, well, if that's the case, you're a coward. I said, because I've never held a gun to your head. In fact, the conversation has always been, if you ever get to the point in this relationship where you want to leave, let's sit down and have that adult conversation. I'm more than fair, more than reasonable. I'm not an idiot. I'm not some little yobbo who can't sit there and talk about his emotions and thoughts. Let's sit down and go, right, what's the problems? Right, you want to leave? Great, that's fine. Let's do this. And so I questioned that. I was like, did you mean what you said about that about years ago? She was like, not years ago. Right, when? Last year. I'm like, right. Last year before I had my vasectomy. Yeah. And I'm like, so let me get this right. I said, last year before I had a life-changing operation that would stop me having a family with anybody else that I did for this family, you were having doubts about being in a relationship with me. Yeah. I was like, do you hear yourself? I was like, do you know how fucked up that is? Well, how could I have stopped you? I was like, dead easy. Don't do it now, babe. You've not got enough money to have time off work. Don't do it now, babe. I don't want you to be ill over Christmas. Or I said, do you know what? Or you could have just lied to me and gone, do you know what? Don't do it now. I might actually change my mind and want a second child in 6 months' time. Let's let the land settle and see what I said. But instead, you decided to let me go ahead with that, knowing that you had doubts about our relationship, stopping me from having a family with anybody else. It's like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I would have wanted to, but I just sat there and I was like, I need to go. And I just got up and left and went back to the house. And I was driving back to the house and I was numb. Like, I just couldn't. I'll be honest, how I got back to the house, I don't know. I was like I was a spectator. I just couldn't believe or understand how someone could do something like that. And not only, and this is the thing that really gets me, is that not only let someone go through with that, but then tell them that that's what they did. And I just sat there and I was like, she could have even lied then.
Yeah.
Do you know what? No, it was after that. After what's saying, blah, 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 whatever. But she sat there and she told me it all. And I was just like, even now, we're 14 months down the line. Even now, I think about it and it just doesn't.
Could you imagine reversing the situation? Whereas if you was ready to leave and a woman that you was with wanted to have this operation to...
You'd be strung up.
Yes.
You'd be strung up.
So, I did think about us leaving, but I thought I'd let you go through that and see how we got on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. If you was a man doing it, you'd be tore apart. You wouldn't be able to walk down the street. It was... I just couldn't... that to me... Then, I was still trying to fix stuff. Then. I still thought we could save things. But I think that was a defining moment. I was like, nah, this is done. Stupidly, we did go to counselling. But even that wasn't... I thought we were going to counselling to fix a marriage. Whereas she was going to counselling to get someone to gang up on me with her.
I was going to say, what is counselling like? I've never been. I've no idea.
I'll be the first one to tell you that I did not want to go. Maybe it's a manly thing. Don't need someone to tell me about my feelings. Blah 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 blah. It answered a lot of questions. Actually, I did. We had a few sessions. The takeaway was quite positive. I felt it was worthwhile going to. I think looking to the future, if I'm in a relationship and I start encountering problems, I will be suggesting counselling much earlier on. The way I started looking at it as well is you'd go and service your car. You'd take your car into a garage and you'd spend £300 getting your car serviced so your car carries on.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you spend that money on your relationship to make sure that your marriage or your relationship carries on?
Okay. I've no insight into what they even do there.
Yeah, it wasn't what was expected. It wasn't what's same. I was doing the things like, to me, to get the most out of something, you've got to commit to it. So like, right, you need to, you've got these exercises you need to go home and do, and you need to look at this and you need to read that and you need to say, right, okay, so we'll go away. And I'd be like, right, cool, yeah. Using different language, us instead of me, I, and all that sort of things. And speech patterns, picking up on things, how to go through it all, blah, 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 blah. So I'm doing all this in the counselling sessions. She's not. Like, she's point blank not doing it. And it's like, well, she's this and he's done that and he's done that. And I was like, yeah, but I'm doing all the things that you're asking of me. And you're expecting me to do everything that she wants. And you're telling me, this is the counsellor, I was like, and you're telling me that she doesn't have to step forwards? I was like, how's that fair? I was like, this is supposed to be marriage counselling and we're supposed to be a cohesive unit and this is supposed to be a joint effort. We've got compromise. I was like, but you're telling me that I've got to do what's asked of me and she doesn't have to do anything. At this point, I was like, I'm being ganged up on it. And it again, that fed into her kind of MO. It's like she gets her way by any means necessary. And if I sort of dig my heels in and go, no, I'm not doing it, then I'm being problematical and controlling because I don't want to do the thing that she wants to do. It's like, no, I just don't want to do it. And that was kind of becoming a theme then. Yeah. And at that point, it was probably a few months before, I'd got wished that she was having an affair with one of my friends. And this was all while we're going to counselling. And again, I'm just like, yeah, I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. This guy, I'd got binned him off 18 months, 2 years ago. He'd shown his colours, and I knew he saw, so I got rid of him. And I couldn't understand why she would want to associate with someone like that. Certainly not be in a relationship with them. And as much as she says, oh, it wasn't an affair, it's like, we're still legally married and you're in a relationship with somebody else. In the eyes of the law, that's an affair. We were going to counselling to fix our marriage while you were swanning about with some other man. Like, again, what sort of person does that? What sort of person makes you? And again, this is the things like, we need to go to counselling, blah, 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 blah. Right, okay, well, why don't you find someone? No, you need to find someone. Like, why do I need to find someone? Why do you find someone that you want? No, you want what's him, you find someone. I'm like, well, do you not want to find someone that you're happy with? And I'll just go along with it. No, you need to do it. And again, this is like a theme. Everything's been, I've got to do it, I've got to do it, I've got to do it. But yes, I'm supposedly the controlling one. So
during all this, you were still getting to see the kids?
Yes.
There was no issues with contact?
She wouldn't let me have them for more than one night because my youngest daughter was very young and she was using the argument of breast milk and all that sort of thing.
Very young. I could say she would have been...
She was 6 months when we separated.
Yeah.
But even in the eyes of the family court, breastfeeding is not a protected factor to stop access between parents. But again, it's just control. She was controlling what was going on. She was controlling what time I was getting with the girls. She was controlling what days it was, and I just had to do it.
Has that persisted till today?
God, yeah. We're going through family court now.
I know you said.
And have you been through it?
No.
Thank God.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
I've been threatened with it.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's good to put boundaries in place. I think having clear definitions of your time, their time, joint time, I think that's a good idea. But if you don't have to do it, don't do it. So it's just a long... I've been in court more in the last 6 months than I've ever been in my life. And it's such a drawn-out, just faff. It really is. So not even now, it's the schedule that she's given, like, no 2 weeks to this. So there's a pattern across 4 weeks, but...
That sounds really difficult to manage.
So week 1 I have him Wednesday to Friday. Week 2 I have him Thursday to Saturday. Week 3 I have him Sunday to Tuesday. And week 4 I have him Saturday, Sunday.
How do you keep track of all that? Your weeks are constantly changing.
She thinks that's perfectly acceptable. That's the right way to be. I'm like, no, I just want set days. Can we just agree on set days? Because believe it or not, I've got a business that I need to run, and I cannot run a business like this. My customers, my workload, my head. I've got ADHD. My head's spinning, absolutely spinning.
When I was going through it, I think it was mainly last year, I've got a new partner, and when it was trying to figure out what days I had the kids, what days I was here. I travel away a lot, and most of the days I come to see her and I'd be like, I don't even know what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
I honestly, am I on this week? Am I on that week? She actually helped me out and put together some sort of schedule on when I see her, when I don't see her, when I've got the kids,
Yeah.
when I'm at home, it's like, it helped me a lot because I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm like. I've not a, and again, it's not, it's everything else around your life. Obviously, the big things work, you know, your working life and that. But it's like, you know, the girl's going to be 4 and 2 soon. I want to get him into swimming lessons. Main reason for that is hopefully, when I get the money out of the house, I think I'm going to move on to a barge. I really fancy that. Just
Barge?
Yeah, just fancy a liveaboard, just being a bit of a water gypsy. I fancy that. Different pace of life. And as well, it's mine. It's mine. I can't afford to live on my own. So yeah, I want to get the girls into swimming lessons because obviously we're going to be on the water, so I want them to be safe. How can I have a regular swimming lesson on Wednesday when that only happens once a month?
Yeah.
It's going to cost me nearly £30 for each child, and they're going to go to one lesson a month. That's not fair. That's not fair for them, and it's not fair for me. But she doesn't see that as being unreasonable. And again, everything. So I've picked up the children and dropped them off for 12 months. She refuses.
From school?
I pick them up from nursery and drop them off at her house. She refuses to do it.
How can you...
She refuses.
How?
No. Just no, I'm not doing it. If you want the girls, you've got to pick them up and you've got to drop them off. But I'm the controlling one.
Is this on your days or days that she would... So she's never picked them up from school?
No, they're at nursery. She'll drop them off to nursery and whatever.
Okay.
But when I go to get the girls, I've got to collect them and I've got to drop them off. She has never once in 12 months picked the girls up from me.
Oh, okay. From your location.
Yeah.
It's being awkward.
Control. It's another way she can exert it. It's, I say we're back in court, and having been in court last week and been up about, like I say, her, obviously there's a screen down the room, you don't see them. A little dumpy barrister and someone that she know. And it was just me. Didn't have anyone with me. I just thought, do you know what, I'll deal with this. And I stood my ground against the barrister. And I went in there knowing exactly what I was willing to accept, because she was trying to get a non-Malta stick. And the things that she wanted me to do, I'd done anyway. I've not said a thing. I've not said a thing about her on social media. Not a word. Every day, every couple of days, he's done this. It's a soapbox. That's what she uses, Facebook. And I've seen some of the messages that people have shown me. And, so I put in my own order against this to stop it. So I went into court knowing that I was going to accept the cold undertakings. And the outcome of it was that I accepted everything that I knew I was going to do, and I made her accept what I wanted to do as well. But she refused for 3 hours, and a barrister refused for 3 hours. And I just stood there in court, talked very, as I am now, put my point across, spoke with a factor of emotional detachment, and came out of it, and I was talking to my best mate, and I was like, I think I won today. And he's like, no, you did. I was like, I know I've come away from it accepting. I knew I was going to accept the things. I was okay with that. I was like, but I got what I wanted. He's like, oh yeah, she's not going to like that. I was like, no, she's not going to like that at all. So I'm now sort of apprehensive, thinking what's going to be the next tact.
So she was hoping to get a non-molestation.
Yeah. Yeah.
but didn't get one.
She was hoping to get it without me giving notice. So she put the application in months ago, and it was she put. So obviously she's painted this terrible picture of how I'm this person, how I'm that person, about how she's terrified of me. And the courts have gone, nope, we're giving him notice. So when I'd seen the paperwork, my head fell off. My mates were in the unit when it happened in my workshop, and I just broke down in my mate's arms and cried. I started reading and I just cried. Like how someone could say the things that she'd said about me.
You just know it's going to make contact even harder.
Yeah. And yeah, it's that's so kind of now sitting back from things 40 months down the line, emotions have settled a little bit. My head's in a better place. Don't get me wrong, I have a wobble every now and then. But I'm noticing a pattern in her. So when we first met, her ex was a narcissist. He was controlling, he was this, he was that, blah, 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 blah. And she didn't really have very many friends. Like, proper friends, there wasn't many. It was the odd one or two, but there weren't many. And now, obviously, since we've separated, and she started spouting all the things that she's been saying, anyone who didn't toe the line and isn't malleable to her way, they're kicked by the wayside. So we've had friends that we've had as a relationship, friends we've known for 12 years, and she's just discarded them like a spent toy. And she will refuse to talk to them because they turn around and gone, whoa, that's not the truth. Close friends, real good friends, they're like, no, he's not like that. He's not that person. That's not the person you were describing. And I'm seeing it now. She's then latched onto new friends who don't know her. And she's latched onto them, and now they're all, oh my God, she's amazing, she's this, isn't she this? Because they're now propping up the new fairy tale in her head. So anything that isn't of use to her, get rid of. And then start again. And I'm a narcissist, I'm controlling, I'm this, exactly the same as a previous husband. And it's like, it's a 1 in 667,000 chance of meeting someone like that, and you've had 2.
Yeah.
There's one common denominator here. Yeah, it's been an uphill battle.
But they'll never admit when they're wrong.
I called her out on the affair with this old friend of mine. I knew. People have been telling me, I had proof, and I sat there and asked her point blank to her face, no, and it was just like, then I asked the guy's wife, and her exact words were, is this about him and what's her face? I was like, what do you know?
Yeah. I saw text messages with my ex and someone else, which were talking about meeting up the following night. And who's this person? I don't know. And I found out a few months later because she finally admitted it when I questioned her further after we'd separated. Oh, I didn't want to bring up at the time to cause a problem. But yeah, they'll never admit, even when you point bluntly.
If you're if you're at that point, just go, fucked up, lads. Sorry.
It's better.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's like, all right, I can trust you slightly because you're being honest, and something can work from it.
Yeah, but it's like you then start questioning everything else. Like I said earlier, we had a few arguments where she'd just disappear, and she wouldn't tell me where she was. And now I'm thinking, who were you with? Mm-hmm. There was other things that had happened, and I'm like, And I've since found out that she's tried matching with my friends on dating websites. Now, these aren't people that she doesn't know. These are people that she knows. She knows they're my friends. She knows who they are. She knows they're my friends, right? And she's tried matching with that. Not the other way around, because my mates have got a bit more respect than that. But my mate told me, and he's like, "Oi," he says, "if you see her, you want her." I was like, "I'm not going to say anything to her." But even so, then I'm starting to think, like, what's actually happened over the last 12 years? Because this isn't a new personality trait. That's a learned, deep-rooted level of complete and utter disregard for anybody other than yourself. To just completely, the fact that she had a relationship with one of my old friends, and now she's going out of her way to match with them on dating sites. You're like, that isn't a new thing that you've a personality trait. That's an old, because you've got to be like, if you used to go out and used to, bump into one of your ex's mates and you're in a bar and you're having a chat and you start getting a bit flirty, I always liked you, blah, blah, whatever. You'd be like, do you know what? I can't do this. I'm really sorry. I know. But if you thought, yeah, do you know what? Oh yeah, I've always fancied to go, you'd still be questioning yourself, and you'd be trying to talk yourself out. Not her. So it's like, how true is this 12 years of my life? What is real and what isn't? And I honestly don't think I'll ever get the answer to that.
I found that was probably one of the hardest things to deal with, and the biggest things between a couple that just separate, and they separate and there's betrayal, is then I questioned everything.
Yeah.
And it's not even like a few years back. I started going back 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
You're virtually going back almost to the start.
Yeah.
And you question everything. Basically, the last 8 years of your life, you don't know. The rest of your life going forward is all disappeared, and everything just becomes up for grabs.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I totally. It's you're just left spinning, like reeling, just literally, just no matter what you're already on sort of uneven ground anyway, and now you've just had the rug pulled from underneath you.
Yeah.
And not gonna lie, those first 6 months were very dark. Like, yeah, I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't sleeping. I was getting an hour. I work in industry, It's not a job where you can lapse concentration, You lose a finger, you lose an arm, you get, squished by tons of weight. It's not, things can go wrong very quickly. And if you're not on point, if I'm doing something on a car, 2 ton above my head, if it's not right, dead. And I was getting to that point where I was dangerous. And I was... And do you know what the thing is as well? You feel... You know that you're not right. You're completely aware that things aren't good. And the one person that you want to talk to, and you can't. That's just fucked up. Because that's the person that would help you. That's the person that would sit there and talk to you and listen to us, and you could open yourself up to completely. And now that isn't an option. That was difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's... I think coming to terms with the fact that that person is burnt ground now. Mm-hmm. You can't. There's, nothing's ever going to be the same, and you can't. You'll just never be able to talk to them like that again.
Yeah, that was always a sad part. Someone who, you say the partner, close friend, used to ring up after work. And you don't do that anymore. I've got another partner I get on great with, but I don't know. It's effectively that person's died to you, but they're still living. It's like it's a weird one.
Yeah, I think you have to. it's kind of, you have to look at them like I just don't know. Like you say, like they're dead. That's probably the best way.
In some sad way, it'd probably be easier, but I know it's a...
Yeah. Oh, it would be easier, without a doubt. And I'm sure a lot of people would say that, but...
Yeah, you'd mourn and get over
Yeah.
what...
Yeah. It's... You just... I think when you... For me, a turning point, like I say, my friend's dad saying to me that you can't control this, you can only control your reaction and what you do. That was a big turning point for me. That kind of made me sit and consider what he said. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, you're right. I need to stop reacting, stop getting upset by things. Just let her do her shit. Go and say what you want to say. Go and do what you want to do. I'm really not bothered. I know that I'm not doing that. So I can stand there with a clean conscience and go, I've not done that. Don't get me wrong. I've done some rubbish things. But I know that I've not done what she's done. I know I've not acted how she's acted. And that to me speaks volumes, you know.
How's your relationship with your kids now?
Better than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of hammered it home that I should have spent more time at home. But again, it's that disparity between male and females, you know. And as well, after COVID, business just disappeared. Like, it just vanished. So I was desperately trying to find a new avenue of work to try and move forward with. And I threw myself into that heavy. But that said, I'm not one of these dads that isn't involved. You know, I'd come in, I'd do the cat tray, I'd do the recycling. 5-6 times of the week, I'd cook. You know, I'd cook tea. I'd spend some time to start off with, you know, obviously my first daughter and then my second. You know, and try and like. I tried to actively encourage some time between us, but because of how she was, that never happened. So since then, yeah, it makes me laugh. We go to very early on. I know that I realised that I needed something for us, so we started going to a play group. Because I didn't, you know, I'm now on my own, single dad, and I've not really got many other parent friends. And I've also not really got very many friends. I've got a very small circle of friends because I've got trust issues from when my best mate died. So we start going to this play group. The girls love it. I literally just walk in and just let them go. And you know, it's fantastic. We started making new friends there. We started, you know, enjoying ourselves with things. And, you know, having 2 toddlers is hard work.
Yeah.
But like the girls at this play group, they turned around to me one week. We've been going for a couple of months at this point. And the couple of the girls that run it, they were like, "You're doing fantastic." I'm like, "What now?" She went, "Honestly, all us mums," because I was like, I'm literally the token dad. Like most times, if we go, I am the only dad there.
Yeah.
It's majoritively mums. And like, we stand here and watch you run around this place after those 2. And she says, and if you're over one side of the room, you've still got your eye on the other one on the other side of the room. And if anything goes wrong, you bounce back over this side of the room and do this. And she says, and that's in between feeding them, changing them, what's name is just like, you're a super dad. You're doing fantastic. Do not worry. And I'm like, I don't think I'm doing anything special, but thank you. The relationship with the kids is great. We do loads. We go out to places. I try to get out as much as I can with them. Obviously, money dictating. I run with them. That's another thing. I take them running. We've got a running buggy, so I shove them in, both of them, 2 of them. Which, trust me, when you're pushing 2 girls in a buggy, that's a workout. But we'll go out and do like 5K or something like that, and yeah, we just get out and do stuff. I've definitely got a better relationship now with them than I did before, because I've you know, I want. I'm not really. I don't see the point in having kids and then not being in life. You know, I wanted children and I want to be in my children's lives. You know, I'm still fighting to get them 50-50, which is stupid. It's an uphill battle. But yeah, we have a really good relationship.
It gets easier when they get a little bit older.
Yeah, I don't know. My two at the moment, they're sassy.
You know, my boys are 4 and 8. The 8-year-old's really easy. He manages himself, gets himself dressed, gets himself up, almost feeds himself. Gets easier. Yeah. But yeah, once you get out of the whole nappy situation.
So my eldest, she'll be 4 soon. She's like no signs. There is concerns about learning difficulties. My youngest, however, for weeks, I'll be stood in the kitchen. I've got the changing mat down the side of the dishwasher, and she totters over to it. She pulls it out. Done it, done it, done it, done it, daddy, done it, daddy, done it. And I'm like, right, baby, yeah. My ex actually, I was say about her blowing hot and cold. My ex sent me a picture earlier. My youngest daughter's using the potty now, doing it of her own free will. She's just gone and sat on the. She's just gone and sat on the potty, and used the potty. She's 2, so I think she'll be potty trained within a few weeks.
That's pretty good.
Whereas my eldest daughter, like, just not. And I even say to her, like, you know, if you need this, you need to tell daddy. Tell. Like, no, you need to tell daddy. You need toilet. Okay, baby. Yeah, she's just not there yet. But yeah, my youngest seems to be leaping ahead. It's fantastic, you know, when you see the world through their eyes, and you can sign if you're willing to throw yourself in with that. It's great, you know.
That's good. I think we're pretty much near the end, but I had a few questions sort of to wrap it up. I had one about red flags, but I think we've been through quite a few of them.
Yeah. So another story. Recently started dating a girl.
Okay.
Really cute. 8 years younger than me. Mum, 18-month-old son. We got talking, went on a date. First date, mind-blowing sex. Mind-blowing. Unreal. Great. Tore each other apart for like 2 hours. Carried on talking more, carried on talking. She was going through court for her child. So we didn't speak for a couple of weeks. Decided we're going to have a second date. Just have a movie night, you know. Now, I'd already said, like, that my ex was full on and that she'd, like, love bomb me, all this. And I was like, totally not. That to me is like, I am very sort of tuned into that. As soon as I start getting whiffs of it, I'm like, I'm done. And she'd done a few things, and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't right. So trying to take her home, the trains had cancelled. So I was like, do you know what? I'll take you to Liverpool. I'll take you to the main station. You can get home from there. And on the way there, she's like, you know, I don't think we should see each other again. You've got a lot going on. I've got a lot going on. Blah blah blah. I was like, do you know what? Yeah, totally fine. Not a problem. Because again, quite mature emotionally. I can sit and go through that. Not a problem. Fine. I was like, maybe in a couple of months we could revisit things when your life settled down, my life settled down. Maybe we could look at this a different way. She didn't say a word all the way to Liverpool, like nearly a 3/4 of an hour drive. Gets there, and as she's getting out, she's like, so what are we going to do? I was like, you've already said what you wanted to do. And I agree. And I'm totally okay with that. I was like, wish you all the best. Hope everything sorts out for you and your son. You know, let's just draw a line under it. You know, it's a lot going on for both of us. That obviously now is not the right time. one person having problems going on in your life is okay, but when both of you, there's too much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the calls and the text started. I think I'd had 8 messages and 4 missed calls by the time I got home. The next day, I had 8 or 10 messages. I told her, look, I said what we needed to say last night and I'm okay with that, thank you. But please stop WhatsApp, I'm trying to work. And she started calling and calling and calling and calling and calling. By this point, now I've gone alarm bells. Like, this is exactly not what I'm after. Blocked her on everything. So then she messaged me on the dating app where we met. So I blocked her on there. So then I blocked her phone number. So then she started ringing off a withheld number. Then she must have, I think at that point, when I was on the phone to the police, she'd wrecked a reporter. She rang like 10 times while I was on the phone to the police. I think by the end of the day, she'd tried to ring me 50 times. So what happens when, this guy, what's his name, and has made it very clear that he doesn't want to talk to you? What do you do? I know, I'll get one of my friends to message him. So they had this random person trying to justify how she was being the way she was being. I'm like, do you not see, do you not see that even your behaviour in this is wrong? And I was telling my mate about it. He's like, you do pick them, don't you?
It sounded like some sort of shit test.
Everyone has said that. I think she wanted me to say, yeah, exactly that.
It sounded like a shit test.
But like I say, I'm a totally adult person to be able to sit down and have that conversation and go, do you know what? This isn't working out. It's been great. We've had some fun, but it just isn't for me. That's an adult conversation. That's a conversation you should be able to have.
Yeah.
Family, friends, whatever. You should just be able to, do you know what? This isn't, And I think she expected me to, but that to me was again a big red flag. I don't want that love bombing. I don't want someone thinking that I'm gonna like cow to them as such.
Did you learn anything?
Don't get married.
Yeah.
I think I would get married maybe once again. Because, like I said earlier, 3 days wasn't really. I'd like to do it with someone, the right person, and maybe go through that again. But yeah, I've learned to maybe not be as trusting, and to that you don't truly know the people you think you know. Of all the people in the world who you think your partner, better than everybody else. And the last 14 months have proven to me that I didn't have a clue.
What advice would you give to another dad going through separation?
Talk to your friends. Lean on your friends. I've sobbed in my friends' arms. Big men. And I broke down and sobbed. And they've been there for me when I've been a wreck. Talk about it. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, go to support groups, go to Andy's Man Club, go to anything, go into a help forum on Facebook, talk about stuff. Exercise. I've always been active. I love being active. I love running. I love mountain biking. I love going to the gym. And that kind of I'd had a big break from that because I dislocated my left shoulder the other year, which messed me up big time. So getting back into the gym has helped no end because it kind of there's a few parts with that. You feel better because you're active and you're doing something, but also as well in quite a sort of vain way. Once you start seeing yourself look a little bit better, your mood picks up.
Yeah.
It
does.
When you think, you look in the mirror and you think, you know what, yeah, I'm not in bad shape at the moment. And that makes you feel better. Try to get out as well. Try to go out and do things that do you know what they thought? I've always wanted to do that. Go and do it. Go and do it. I've been on a couple of trips last year that I've wanted to do. Just booked it and went. Only small base, but just did it and went. This year, I'm thinking that, you know, I might jump on one of my motorbikes and do a bit of touring. Maybe Scotland, maybe France. Don't know. Only like 5 days or something. But just jump on a bike, go and do it. If you've got something that you've always wanted to do, that you was sort of always not so much not allowed, because they have ways, don't they? It's like mine, she'd kind of turn her nose up at stuff, and I'll be like, all right, yeah, I know this isn't going to wash. But yeah, just go do, fill your time. I think that's the other one. Fill your time. Keep busy. Just anything. Work, exercise, family time, new hobbies, anything. Because if you're busy doing something, you're not thinking about the doom and gloom. And obviously, and as well, the big one that goes, you know, without saying, throw your time into your kids.
Mm-hmm.
When they're with you, go and do stuff. Go out and have adventures. Build pillow forts and all the other daft stuff that kids want to do. Do it. Embrace it. Love it. You'll get more value from that than anything else.
Would you do anything differently?
That's the big question, isn't it? No matter how much heartache and upset has happened in the last 12 months, my 2 girls make it all worthwhile. And I wouldn't change them for the world. And I would hate to go, or change this, that, you know, it's that butterfly effect, isn't it? It would have a cascading effect on how things happen. They make it all worthwhile. They do. The 2 little rays of sunshine that are just, you, when I pick them up, you know, Daddy, and it's everything else, just nothing else matters. I wouldn't change anything for them. There's things I'd like to change and say that I would do differently. I think moving forwards, I'm going to be more attuned to how I am as a partner and act differently, and maybe compose myself differently, be a better version of myself. That's what would change, not the past, the future.
Has what you've been through make you at all hesitant about relationships in the future?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I think that, like we were saying earlier, you know, the first time I slept with someone, it was heart-wrenching, horrible. I think it's that sort of knowledge that you're opening yourself up to somebody and you're going to be vulnerable again. And going through all those motions in a complete unknown and hoping that you don't get hurt. You know, it's like, you know, some people, they need a partner. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. If you're that person, that's fine. I'm quite content on my own. You know, I've always done things on my own. I'm just a bit of a soul spirit like that. And it doesn't bother me being on my own. I don't need a partner. Some companionship's nice. It's nice to go out with someone for a meal and just sit and talk. And, you know, again, you can do that with your friends, but with someone, it's different, is it, when you're with someone that you're being intimate with, or is a partner or whatever. You know, that sort of companionship is it brings different sort of levels to your life. That's missed. The silly text messages, you know, where you send each other stuff like that, that's missed. But yeah, I'm definitely more hesitant of what I'm going to do in the future. I think the big thing, like everyone says, oh, do you know what you're looking for? And I was like, it's not so much I know what I'm looking for, but I know what I'm willing to not put up with. Like, I know that I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't want the other thing. And they're like, that's like sort of, like, let's not say red flags, let's say like markers, red markers. These are like big things that it's like, if this is present, nah, just that. Because it's, to me, a flag is like that means a flag you can get on. It's a bit, it blows in the breeze, doesn't it? Like, I think you become more aware of what you want and what you're willing to not accept with. And plus as well, me now is a totally different person to 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally different person. There's still obviously undercurrents of things that make you you, that define you as a person. But I'm certainly not the person I was 12 months ago, 12 years ago. And your wants and needs change.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I won't be rushing into things. I won't be jumping into another relationship. It's gonna have to be someone that's sort of that's really special.
I found since dating in my 20s, and then for the period that I were attempted dating last year, significantly different.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, it's so different.
Yeah.
It's two totally different worlds. I actually found it to be easier.
I think because of
It was weirdly easier.
because of dating apps. Because of dating apps, obviously it's at your fingertips, isn't it? But I've never struggled finding partners.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds big-headed, but I'm a good-looking lad. I look after myself. I've got a good job. I can talk. I can, I'm not saying I'm not a knobhead. It's like, when I was in my younger days, I wouldn't struggle sort of pulling someone, like say on a night out, say, in a club. But now, like, single dad, I work on my own. I'm in my workshop on my own. I don't really have any group sports that I do. I don't do anything. I don't go out places. I don't go to the pub. If I'm working, if not working, I've got the kids. I'm like, you sort of, that organic way of meeting someone just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, since COVID, people are like sort of kind of a bit offish with things. And obviously you can use all the dating apps and use all that, but do you not think it's it takes value away from stuff? Because you're just like, no, yes, no, yes, no, 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 yes.
I found it worked. It served its purpose extremely well.
Yeah.
It was, it did what it needed for me. But
I'm talking to a couple of people at the moment, but again, I'm not rushing into it. It's like, I'm talking to one girl. We've been talking for a couple of weeks. She's going for exams at the moment. It's like, I'm not going to ask to go on a date now because I know you've got your exams and they're really important to you. But after you finish your exams, would you like to go out for a drink or dinner or something? Or we'll do something. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, that's really nice. So we're still talking. And maybe, you can, I think it makes it a bit easier because you talk about all the different things. So then by the time you maybe get to a date, you might have been talking for 2 weeks. So you've kind of got an idea of if this person is the sort of person you want to talk to or not, which I think makes it a little bit easier in that respect.
yeah, that's what I did with my partner now. We were talking for quite a while before we met for the first time.
Yeah.
So we'd already covered so much.
Yeah.
And we were talking in the evenings, and so yeah, all that side made it a lot easier. But the whole dating thing, I found it to be a lot more unusual that women were forward. I had women actually asking for dates, which was the weird. I've never had that before.
I've had women recently giving me their numbers, like, oh, do you want to change number? Here's my number. I'm like, and quite quickly as well. I'm like, oh, right, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Which kind of
Never would have got that 10 plus years ago.
no. Why are you saying that? But I've had
Okay.
I've had that. I say I can't. I've not struggled ever. I think the thing now is like it's impersonal. Like you can be. I've been talking to some people who think, do you know what? There's real something here. Really kind of positive vibe off this person, and you're talking, and all of a sudden, thip, nothing. Radio silence.
Yeah.
And you're like, what have I said? And then, because like I've got female friends who are single. One of they're actually the witnesses at my wedding. They separated like 6 months after us. And we were comparing messages that you get on dating sites. She was showing me something that someone had sent her on Tinder, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's a bit forthright, isn't it?" And I showed her like one of my messages, and she's like, "Why don't I get those?" Like, because unfortunately, there's not many blokes like me, and there's loads of that type. She's had like indecent images sent to her, basic messages asking her for sex, what's name, and you're just like, and I think it gives some people think they've got a right to just be derogatory.
Yeah.
Because like they're kind of faceless with it, and it makes you wonder who in the right mind thinks I don't want to say this, say that, blah 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 blah, and I think, did he think it's a numbers game? For every 100, one might say yeah. I just don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange, and I think probably, I'm not sure about you, but I go through stages like I'll be on them for maybe a month or two, and I'll go, oh, do you know what? Forget it, and I'll stop using them. And then I'll get bored one evening. I'll have a look.
I only went on them for about 2 weeks. Met my missus, and that was it.
No, you did well.
I only went on one date, and that was it. So I was very fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm guarded. Because, like I say, being burnt quite heavily. I am very guarded, and I know that I'm not just gonna fall. Once as soon as I kind of get inklings of things, I'm like, nope, not for me, and I back off. That might take a while to sort of come out, but we'll see.
No worries. Okay, I think we're pretty much at the end.
Yeah.
Now there's a last question which I ask everyone. Have you got 2 words to sum up the whole episode? What would it be? And that'll be the name of the episode when it's released.
Oh, God.
If you can't think of anything, you can always drop me a message and I'll add it to the list. So effectively letting you name your own episode.
It's a surreal dream.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because that's one thing I've said to people is like, it's like I'm just a passenger. I'm just sat there, just watching everything happen around me, and I'm like, why is this doing this? Yeah, surreal dream.
Okay. Add it to the list. Nice one. Well, no, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that you came down.
No,
it's
thank
been
you.
great speaking to you.
And you, mate.
Nice one.